How you doing, guys? I had this interesting thought, and I think it's a nice little conversational piece. And my hope is that it lifts us a little bit above the day-to-day noise, which I think is dangerous, actually, for us to just be in that, intellectual quagmire all the time. Or, oh, this is the latest hashtag on Twitter. This is the latest news, headline. Some of it. Okay, bear in mind, I am a libertarian-minded person. I'm very suspicious of government. I think that's the way we should dialogue, all cards on the table. So that perspective, but that doesn't mean you should ignore all things if you disagree with that. I'm still bringing a perspective. So I think one of the things we have going on right now politically is that the Democratic Party, now I'm talking about the party itself, like the ethos of the party, like not the individuals within the party, but the overall macro view of itself, has for my entire lifetime, maybe at least half of my lifetime, had a little bit of a deity complex, and I'll put some skin on that thought. I think at some point they just decided that there was no other set of ideas worthy of power. They were very, very convinced of their own, almost like moral good in a way. It was like a secular form of morality, which is a whole nother can of worms. But in the more and more they started thinking of their political ideas as like religious ideas, or at least moral ideas, instead of just political ideas to solutions, the less and less interested they were in shared power, or the fact that some other movement might come along with a set of ideas that would appeal and sort of undercut their power. So I'm presenting that as an idea. I'm saying that I think that was true and is true. And then as a result of that, you can make sense of a lot of the things that we presently see, where you have this investigation by very liberal Democrats in America. The investigation does not turn up the right outcome for this political party. They just steady on down the road for the outcome or the narrative or the story that they desire. The only way you can really make sense of this is the outcome and the accusations and stuff, all a yawn fest, all an afterthought. The point here is just to put the right people in power. A simpler way of saying this, a less complicated way, a less philosophical way, I suppose, would just be to say, there's just a huge caveat of people that just viscerally hate Trump, and ends to a means it doesn't really matter how you remove Trump. It's just that you remove Trump, right? That's the simple way of saying it. But I'm taking it up bird's eye view a little bit and saying, no, this is sort of an intellectual ethos of the party, that they're the only ideas, they're the only set of ideas worthy. They're the only political party that is worthy of having power in this country. Everything else is to be not looked at as a different set of ideas, but looked at as just so evil, so outside the moral acceptable bubble, that everything one has to do, any kind of pillar of society that has to be torn apart or torn down, anything is okay as long as the right people are reinstated in power. It's very rooted in power lust, which is not unique to the Democrat Party, but is present in the Democrat Party, and that certainly is the sort of jet fuel in the tank of this. So that's the thought, right? That's why you would have, intelligence officers take it upon themselves to say the American people don't know what they're doing. We need a backup plan. This is all provable, by the way, now. This isn't even speculatory. We now need, sort of a fail-safe. They're going to take it upon themselves to be the fail-safe because democracy has broken down, so on and so forth. I also think at the heart of a more liberal way of looking at the world, and certainly a politically leftist Democrat ideology is like a distrust of, the hoi polloi, the voter, because they don't know, not the age. There's an elitism sort of baked into that, and that goes way back to the French Revolution. That's ripe in European politics, where like democracies sort of get in the way of very sophisticated elitists who either through education or political connections, or they wear the right clothes, or they have the right hobbies. They're sophisticated in the right way. Who says they're sophisticated in the right way? The elites, that are basically circle, whatting this whole situation into being. Those people are the right people. Those people are the trusted people. They're the sophisticates. They're the ones that understand nuance. They wouldn't think of doing things like hunting or, just something disgusting, riding a pickup truck around for fun, or just something repulsive like that. They wear very form-fitting suits. They have the right parents who bought their entry fees into the right colleges. They're lawyers. I think this is an exaggerated version of it, but I think this idea is kind of baked into the cake of that ideology. And so for that reason, democracies are sort of just ugly nuisances in a way. Just these country music flyover state fools are having some say into what we, the real leaders and aristocrats and let them eat cake types, what we think, what we say is important, what we say is culturally relevant, what we say is artistically good, what we say is politically good. So I think that's another spoke to the wheel. There's like they're all like spokes to the wheel. This deity complex that I think is permeating the Democratic Party. And then lastly, what I would say is the fact that I really do believe that is true puts the modern day Democratic Party in a real conundrum, because there's not enough people with perspective enough to figure out why they're losing modern elections. And nobody in those circles wants to go out and like rub shoulders with the filthy rag, plebeian. And that's where you would get that intel, right? You would get that intel out there by mixing it up with the people that live beyond the Hudson River, or, beyond Southern California, or whatever the case may be. So there's like this, symbiotic problem where there's no respect for them, but that's what they have to do. And then on top of all that, there's just like this lack of, I would just call it is a correction mechanism. And the reason they don't have that correction mechanism is they can't be wrong. They have this deity complex. They're the deciders of what's good. So if they've decided something's good, anybody who disagrees with that is wrong. But they have this nuisance democracy thing to deal with, this democratic republic thing to deal with. And in there is this political quagmire for them, where they're too good for the self-correction they need, and there's too few of them that even realize they need the self-correction. So then there's just this tense frustration building up with, we are the Mount Olympus, we are the chosen ones, but the people don't see it that way. And they gave us this crazy-haired orange man, and obviously we shouldn't trust these morons to do anything. And then you have all these elites in the State Department and in what is now known as the establishment, just trying to puppeteer, and now the lid's blowing off of that, and they're getting more and more desperate. It would be a mistake to just look at the consequences of that. What we really need to think about is why that even happens. And I'm making the case that it's this deity, this political deification, this political like demigod situation that the Democrat establishment and the elite and the ethos of the party has. And until they shake out of that, I don't know what's going to happen, because that's their only real way out, in my opinion. And I wonder how often in the day of Trump, where everything, when I talk to a liberal friend, everything circles around the planet of Trump. So they never take Trump out of the situation and just look objectively at other things, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm not looking at Trump. I'm looking at other things, other political satellites in the universe, and I'm saying they're all sort of orbiting in the same, universe. And you're just like Trump, Trump, Trump. You're not thinking about any of these things. Open your mind to why things are the way they are outside of just Trump, Trump, Trump. Next day, Trump. Next hashtag, something about Trump. It's so incestuous. It's so boring to somebody who doesn't have like a very visceral dislike of the president. And you're just furthering and furthering the separation between this person that I'm describing, which time and time again proves to exist both in election and in all these inconvenience footprints of democracy or fingerprints of democracy. Think outside of that echo chamber of just Trump derangement and think of other things. This is an offering, I'm saying. Could the Democratic Party be suffering from a real deification complex which allows them to be blind and have blind spots all over the place? Hope it was interesting. Take it easy.